On this episode, why make them do the lifting? Hey everybody, this is the quarter show and we are talking about making your prospect do the heavy lifting. And I think salespeople run into this a lot where, at least I see it. I mean, maybe this is familiar to you, but you make the prospect do too much heavy lifting to get the deal done. So when you look at it, it's like, when you look at the sales runway and you look at putting the deal together and you break it down and you say, okay, from when the closing happens or starts, right, to getting it totally done and closed, and you look at the logistic steps involved, often it's like you run into this scenario of like putting the proposal in front of the prospect and then they have to go to talk to somebody else and get it approved, or they have to do something, or they have to go to legal, or they have to go to the CFO, or they have to go have a meeting, or they have to do this, they have to do that. You know, I think that's making the prospect do a lot of heavy lifting in order to get the deal done. And I personally, my viewpoint, and this is my own experience, but this is my viewpoint, you should take all of that heavy lifting off their plate. You personally should be doing that heavy lifting. Don't make them do all the heavy lifting. Take it off their plate and you do the heavy lifting. So if it's, they have to go to legal to get approval, you go to legal to get approval. If it's, they have to go to the CFO or the CEO or whatever to get approval, you go to them and get approval. If it's somebody has to sign something, or a board has to approve it, or other people have to be on board, or other people have to be sold, don't make them do it. You do it. Every single thing that you make them do, every additional thing that you make them do as it relates to sale, or that you rely on someone else to do in order to get the sale, number one is heavy lifting. It's more work for them, number one. And number two is a less chance that the deal is going to close. And number three, it's probably, if it does close, it's going to take longer to close, right? It's going to add time into the equation. To take time out of the equation, do the heavy lifting. Every single thing that looks like work or smells like work or whatever, you need to do. You need to take responsibility for. So if you can handle that, that means you can control every single aspect and close the deal faster, shorten the runway type thing, make it easier, take work off their plate. But I think a lot of people are like, they get into this thing where they're like, oh, I'm waiting on so-and-so, or I'm waiting for him to get back to me on this, or her to get back to me on this, or do this or do that. And you just have to like itemize it. You say, is that them doing the heavy lifting, or is that you doing the heavy lifting? And if it ends up being them doing the heavy lifting, I would advise you to take every single thing off their plate. So you're doing all the heavy lifting on the deal and increasing the probability of getting it closed. You look at Amazon.com, I think they've done a great job of removing all the barriers connected to buying, right? It's so easy to buy. You have the app on your phone or whatever, swipe and it just runs your credit card, just no problem. And that's it, it's done, you know? And they've removed all the barriers related to buying, related to making a decision. You don't even feel like you're making a decision, really. You're just like, okay, it's done. The thing's coming in the mail, the vitamins or the this or the that or the other thing that you don't need. They've removed every barrier connected to buying. And I think that, you know, in B2B sales specifically, you need to remove every barrier connected to buying, and you need to remove all heavy lifting from the prospect's plate. You should be doing all the heavy lifting and find a way to do that. And for you, that might be something different. For us, it's like it comes up a lot, you know, where I'll be talking to a prospect, or I'll be talking to one of our sales reps, and I can tell that they're in a position where they're dependent on the prospect doing a portion of their job in order to get the deal done. And I would chalk that up to heavy lifting. Like I call that heavy lifting. It's like, that's one more task item. If you think about it, that's one more item for the prospect to do. Like literally, you added to their daily task list in terms of actual work, you know? And you think about that, that's not good for any, I mean, they don't want to do that, you know?
And part of it, to navigate through something like that, you have to know what you're going to say. You have to know how to communicate it, because people, you know, there's a feeling in business of, you know, that seems to linger around, and it's different for different people, but like, you know, oh, you know, I'll go talk to him or whatever. People start to feel defensive. So, you know, in a sales situation, sometimes that comes up. So you have to know what you're going to say ahead of time. This is an absolutely correct strategy. but you have to make it. You have to be comfortable when you're bringing it up.
Yeah.
And it's not like, and you have to keep your manners in. You have to be professional. You have to be insistent. You have to be a lot of things, but you have to know what you're going to say.
Sure.
In that conversation, so that you go, cool. So I'll send the proposal over, and does someone else have to look this over and actually approve it for signing it? Yeah, Fred or Sally has to approve it. That's is that your CEO? Yeah, it's my CEO. Fantastic. Okay, super. Well, run that through on your side. I'll take this to Fred or Sally as well. I'll put it in front of them, make an introduction, and sort of let them know what we're doing. Do they already know kind of about the project that you've brought up? Yeah, they're familiar with it. I mean, we've talked about it a couple of times. Okay, super. So this isn't going to surprise them. Great. Then I'll get the proposal over to them. You run it on your side. Something like this, right? You have to know what you're going to do.
However it is, right? However it is. But if you look at it, it's like you're adding a task item for someone else. If there's any element of that, first of all, most people, I think it's true for you as well. Like most people are buried today. They're overwhelmed. They're constantly overwhelmed. They're constantly buried. They don't need more work. But it also makes you dependent on them to get something done. And every time you do it, it adds a little barrier, a little hiccup connected to your sale, connected to getting something done. This is actually true in sales. This is true in almost anything, even just any approvals in any company anywhere. It's like if you're referring work or you're delegating off to other people, to some degree, there's more of a probability that thing will either take too long or go sideways or not happen at all, right? And so the
more time you add, the more chance you have for something to go wrong.
Yeah, in sales and B2B sales, time does not heal.
It's a long sale.
It's
shortened.
Yeah, take the time out because it's not your friend. The more you can take time out, the higher the probability. Like when you look at anybody, human relations, like how people actually operate. When you're the most excited, when you're most invigorated about something, you want to make the decision as close to there as possible, right? When you feel good about it and you've already talked about it or whatever, you want to make the decision as close to that as possible. Too much time goes on, the chance just sort of depletes, but as if you add items to their plate, like you get them to do heavy lifting, the more you do, each one of those is actually a barrier for you in your sale. You think it's productive. You think, hey, I got forward progress. They're doing that.
They're doing that.
Right. Whatever. Right.
You know how much is on their plate every day?
How much is on their plate every day? So like, what's gonna take rank on their checklist, on their daily battle plan, on their daily task list? It's like the things that are urgent that are in their universe that they have to work on. Oh, and then there's your items, and times every other person that's trying to sell them, or handle them or get their attention, or even if it's internally or whatever. So you're battling with all that. So the more you can take those things off their task list, off every prospect that you're dealing with, you can reduce things, take things off their task list, and take accountability for each item, and sort of you do all the heavy lifting, you can shorten this sales cycle, and you can improve your probability to actually get it closed. So look at those different items and be like, am I dependent on someone else? Am I giving them work? Am I making them do heavy lifting, or am I doing all the heavy lifting? Because if you're doing all the heavy lifting, you're in good shape. Is it more work for you? Yeah, of course it's more work for you. But it's also a higher probability and like I said, a shortened runway to get closed. It's really the only way to go.
Yeah, or you can do what Rob said earlier today, he made a crack. You can up your waiting game.
Yeah, or you can up your waiting game and up your patience game.
How patient can you be? How much waiting can you do? You should test yourself. No,
which is a joke. Obviously, you should not up your waiting game. But prospects, sometimes they're like, oh, I'm busy. I haven't looked at that. And you get somebody who gets a little curt with you. And so sometimes you back off a little bit and you think, oh my gosh, I should be more patient, or I should wait. The truth is, wait. Like I'm somewhere around 600 to 700 business books deep in terms of what I've read. Never read one that talked about patience. Never read one that talked about waiting. Right? Ever. No chapters, no comments, no strategy.
It's not in the technology. It's not in the books.
Never read one book, one chapter on patience and waiting. And yet sometimes people tell you that. So keep in mind, it's total fallacy. Don't do it. Doesn't mean you have to be pushy. Doesn't mean you have to be pressure.
Right.
But but you got to get things done. You got to be a doer. You got to take things off people's plate. You have to be assertive. You have to go and yeah, you're going to get rejection. Yes, you're going to get hit barriers. Yes, you're going to sometimes hit people who are curt. None of that matters. You have to just keep going and work to take everything off your plate, be assertive, and focus on being the one person that gets things done.
Yeah.
So that's the message for today. I hope that helps, and we will have more coming at you soon. If you like the show, subscribe right there, and then hit the like button and share it on social. Okay? Thanks.